Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into a real classic, Giuseppe Tomasi di Lampedusa's The Leopard. It's kind of a shortcut to understanding a huge moment in history.
Absolutely. And we've pulled together insights from, well, quite a few sources, including a really detailed Wikipedia entry to give you the essentials and some pretty surprising facts.
It really is seen as one of the most important modern Italian novels, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It captures such a dramatic time. The Risorgimento, unification of Italy, specifically in Sicily.
Right, but it's more than just history, like you said.
Exactly. It's really about how societies, how families cope with massive change, or sometimes how they don't cope, how they fail to adapt.
And the book itself, its own story is pretty surprising. I mean, Tomasi di Lampedusa, he was the last prince in his line, wasn't he?
A minor Sicilian prince, yeah. And he'd apparently thought about writing for ages.
But he wrote The Leopard late in life, sort of in secret. I heard it was after a literary conference his cousin got invited to.
That's the story. And get this. It was initially rejected.
Rejected.
Twice. By Mondadori and Einaudi, two of the biggest Italian publishers. It was only published after he died.
Wow. By Feltrinelli in 1958.
That's right. And then, boom, instant bestseller, won the Strega Prize, the big Italian literary award.
Incredible. So speaking of surprises, you mentioned something often missed.
Yes, this is crucial, especially if you've only read it in English. The original title, Il Gattopardo.
Which means the leopard, right?
Well, not exactly. It actually translates to the serval.
The serval, like
Yeah.
the smaller wildcat.
Precisely. It's the animal on his family's coat of arms. It's not a leopard at all.
Huh. That changes things, doesn't it? It's subtler.
It really is. It kind of hints at that theme of appearances versus reality, doesn't it? Something seemingly grand, but maybe less powerful than it looks.
Okay, so that connects directly to the story. The plot is set in 1860, right? Garibaldi's landing in Sicily.
Exactly. The red shirts are sweeping through, and it focuses on the aristocratic Salina family, mainly the patriarch, Prince Fabrizio.
And his nephew, Tancredi, he makes a surprising move.
He does. He joins Garibaldi's red shirts. Quite the calculated risk for an aristocrat.
And then there's his marriage to Angelica.
Yes, Angelica Sidora, beautiful daughter of the town's mayor, Don Calogero, who's newly wealthy, very much part of the rising middle class, the bourgeoisie.
So that marriage, it's symbolic, the old aristocracy merging with the new power to kind of hang on.
That's it exactly. Prince Fabrizio sees it all happening. He's the one who embodies that famous idea, everything needs to change so everything can stay the same.
He seems resigned, almost wise about his class declining.
Very much so. And there's a lot of autobiography in there. Fabrizio is partly based on Tomasi's own great-grandfather, Giulio Fabrizio.
But also on Tomasi himself, reflecting his own thoughts.
Definitely. His own ideas about a world in flux. And that really comes through powerfully in the end, doesn't it?
Oh, that final chapter, set much later, 1910.
Yeah, with Fabrizio's daughter, Concetta. She's old now, and she's clearing out these old family relics.
Including the taxidermy dog, Bendico, which the author apparently called.
Vitally important and practically the key to the novel.
Yeah.
Such a poignant image.
Discarding the past, even the beloved bits, which sort of mirrors the controversy the book stirred up when it came out, right?
It absolutely does. It was really divisive. Some critics on the left, like Alberto Moravia, slammed it as right-wing, said it romanticized the dying aristocracy.
But others saw it differently.
Completely. Louis Aragon, for example, saw it as a really sharp, almost merciless critique of that ruling class.
So it annoyed people on both sides. Even actual Sicilian nobles were apparently scandalized.
They were, which just shows how complex the book's perspective is. It doesn't really take sides. It criticizes the failures of the Risorgimento and the flaws of the old system it replaced.
But despite all that, its reputation now is huge.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
One of Italy's greatest novels. And its legacy just keeps going. The famous 1963 film with Burt Lancaster.
Great film. Won the Palme d'Or at Cannes.
Right. And there's been a BBC radio play, an opera, and there's even a new Netflix series coming.
Is that right? When's that due?
Supposedly March 2025.
Yeah.
So, the story keeps finding new audiences.
So wrapping up our deep dive then, The Leopard is just this incredibly rich reflection on, well, on change, basically, how it's inevitable.
And the struggle to hold on to who you are, your identity, when everything's shifting. That tension between tradition and progress.
It's messy.
Always.
Yeah.
And maybe that leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to chew on.
Oh, hey.
In our own lives, our own society, we face constant rapid change too, right? So how do we choose? What parts of our past, our traditions, are actually worth preserving?
And which parts are maybe just dusty relics, like Conchetta's things we maybe need to let go of so something new can actually grow?
Exactly. What does it really mean to be the last of your kind when the world keeps turning?
Deep questions. Definitely worth exploring the novel or seeing one of the adaptations for yourself.